Hey, kia ora. My name's Matt. I'm building a Sopwith Camel. This week I've focused on making web ribs for the tail, or trading edge is the correct name. This is the centre web rib, and this goes on the back of it with a spar in between. There's still got lightning holes to be cut out, but that'll be the upcoming project. So this week you'll see me working on creating these, which involves using this as a template and creating the routing jig for it to go into. Kia ora, my name's Matt and I'm building a Sopwith Camel. I'm actually enjoying one of the better parts of building Camel, which is the thinking time and working out how to solve the problems that you come across. I find thinking juice really useful. In this case, Lefroy. Cheers. And I've stuffed up a little bit. In working on this piece and looking at the measurements for the very end tip of it, I got over enthusiastic on the sander to the degree where I can't fix the problem using varnish. So what I've done, and I'll see if I can zoom and do a bit of a close-up for this. I hope this should work out alright. And you can see that line there, that's the extra custom wood which I've added and erodited in place. And then sanded that back to recreate the end that I accidentally sanded off. Sanding can be a bit of a sod, and it's very easy to take material away, as I'm discovering on multiple pieces. Bit surprised I have to keep reloading this, but hey ho, eventually it sinks in. So that's that sorted. The other problem I found, which I might as well talk about now, is I have screw holes going down, 4 screw holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and nothing to support this end. And what I found with the first couple of pieces I routed was I got chattering right down the end. What chattering was is the plywood and this vibrating in place and bending, which clearly I don't want. And what I did to fix that, because there's not enough room there to put another screw hole in, and this part of it needs to be solid ply, so I can't put a screw in solid ply obviously. So what I've done instead is I've glued in a couple of notches. And in practice, this slides in and screws into those screw holes in the bottom. Oh, move that out of the way. And that's enough to hold this in place and remove most of the chattering. You'll notice when I'm actually doing the routing, I spend a lot of time down this end first, and what I found is if I work on this end with the ply still fairly thick here, but reduce it down at this point, then come back and reduce the ply down at this point. It means a lot of time faffing around here, but it means I don't get the chattering and I don't get the damage done to the ply, which obviously is important. So yeah, while I'm here, I've also started working out the routing template for the lighting holes. So those are the lighting holes. This is the web rib that they go into. Oops. You can see how far across this lighting hole goes, this one here. Interesting enough, that's got a radius of 2mm at this end. I've got nothing that small to sand that out, so that'll be a bit of a challenge. But yeah, that'll be what I start working on next once I catch up with routing out the tail web ribs. There's a lot of useful material out there for budding aircraft builders. This book is fairly useful. Aircraft Maintenance by Brim and Boggess. And it's got quite a, it's actually opened up on the page I wanted. A lot of info on maintaining World War I era aircraft. This one was actually written slightly after World War I. There you go, it's World War II. But it's a lot of the information is still relevant, and at the time wooden aircraft were still in vogue, so to speak. This is one I actually wanted to show you, which is a page on testing wing ribs. I don't need testing for the traditional reason. The design should be solid. It's obviously tested in combat, obviously. But what I will do is I'll go through the exercise and I'll test it because I want to test how well I'm putting them together. So this basically talks through how to do that and the weights required on the page. It's a diagram of an actual test rig, and you'll see there that the web rib is actually upside down with the weights hanging off it, and the idea is to increase the weights evenly until the darn thing breaks. And at that point you can then weigh out how much weight it took and figure out whether you've got enough tolerance in there for it to be worthy for an aircraft. In aircraft design, back in the day, they did this with their example ribs, and if it was good enough, it held to the correct weight, and if it wasn't good enough, they knew exactly where they had to reinforce it. Here's a page on early web ribs, which is exactly what I'm building. And interestingly, it notes in the bottom paragraph here that these were a slow form of construction because the ribs were actually assembled on the spars as opposed to prior to the spars and slid on. Everything I've read online and from talking to other people who've done this, they've all pre-made their web ribs and then slid them onto the spars, but this is obviously an alternative. I'll give that some thought. I hope you enjoyed that. I've started work on the routing jig for the lightning holes. I think I showed that earlier in the video. So that'll be part of this week's project. So this is the lightning hole routing jig for the centre rib. Currently I'm waiting on that to dry, which is a blob of varnish on the bottom. I've got layers of varnish on the rest, and I need to put a final coat on it before I do my next web rib and check that out for dimensions, but hopefully that'll be right after this, so that'll be part of this week as well, this coming week. And the other thing I'm doing is slowly knocking these down. So I've taken basically a layer off today. It's a bit rainy today, but I saw anyway, and I should better get rid of one or two more of these sticks, probably the two black ones on top, I'd say, I guess. Cool. See you next week.